King Kong suddenly felt a very severe pain. He realized that one of his teeth was broken. The pain was so severe that he was unable to eat anything. Now he had no other option left, so he came up to the human world to ask for help. When King Kong suddenly appeared in front of people, everyone got scared. But when everyone came to know the reason for his trouble, the best dentist of the country was immediately called. The doctor gave King Kong an anesthesia injection which calmed him down. Then the doctor reached inside his big mouth with the help of ropes. The doctor examined the broken tooth. Then the tooth was taken out with the help of a large transport plane. The doctor then put a new, stronger tooth made of titanium metal. King Kong was very happy to get a new tooth. He thanked the humans and went back to his world. When King Kong returned to his world, he felt a strange smell in the air. He followed the smell and reached an unknown and mysterious place where he had never been before. There he met a little monkey. King Kong had been living alone for a long time, so when he saw someone of his own kind, he was very happy and extended his hand for friendship, but he did not expect that the little monkey would bite him hard and run away. King Kong was chasing him and got caught in a trap. Then 3 more monkeys attacked him, but King Kong was much stronger. He quickly defeated all 3 of them by beating them. The little monkey was captured, and now he had to take King Kong to his hideout. On the way they passed by a lake. The little monkey tried to harm King Kong with the help of a big aquatic creature, but King Kong had already understood the danger. He easily defeated that huge snake-like creature. After this he shared his food with the little monkey. The little monkey was very impressed by King Kong's kindness. He took King Kong to his community's colony. When King Kong reached there, he was shocked to see the scene. There were many more monkeys like him in captivity. They were being forced to do heavy stonework. The owner of this place was Scar King, a very big and cruel monkey with red hair. Kong could not tolerate all this and he fought with Scar King to free the monkeys of his community. When Scar King saw King Kong's new steel teeth, he started laughing and making fun of him, and then challenged him to a fight. After this a fierce battle started between the two. The Scar King was very fast and clever. He injured Kong with his whip. Everyone was surprised to see the fierce fight between the two creatures of the underworld. For a while the Scar King started overpowering Kong, but he could not stand for long in front of King Kong's immense power. As the Scar King started losing, he called his most dangerous weapon, a terrible titan creature named Shimo. The cold and poisonous breath of that demon badly injured King Kong's right hand. In such a difficult time, the little monkey came forward to help him. He helped King Kong escape from there, but the evil soldiers of the Scar King started chasing them. Then the little monkey triggers a trap already made by King Kong. And both of them escape, saving their lives from the pursuers. Now the badly injured Kong once again reaches humans with the help of a small monkey, and humans once again come forward to help Kong. They are unable to give a new hand to Kong, but with the help of an artificial machine, they make his hand stronger than before, and once again fulfill their duty by helping King Kong.
This was a golden egg worth hundreds of millions. A man picked up a can of cola and poured it over the golden egg. Under the museum director's shocked gaze, the egg gradually dissolved in the cola. It turned out the golden egg had long been swapped out by a thief. The female detective immediately ordered the entire exhibition hall sealed. As the main gate slowly closed, a figure in the crowd instantly bolted out. The man followed closely in pursuit, but his physique was too bulky. He got stuck in the automatic door and could only watch the thief fade into the distance. Meanwhile, the thief was changing his clothes while running. He was the world's top thief, Booth. Disguising himself effortlessly, he dodged the police search and quickly blended into the crowd. Just as he was about to escape through the exit, the female detective was already waiting at the door. Seeing this, Booth immediately turned around, pulled out a smoke grenade, and threw it to the ground. Just as the detective raised her gun, the grenade exploded. Seizing the chance, Booth fled again. Johnson, who had just arrived, gave chase immediately. The two raced through rooms. Booth used his slim build to slip nimbly through a steel frame, while Johnson could only stare helplessly at his own bulky frame. But he didn't give up. He quickly checked a nearby map, then took a shortcut straight toward the exit. Sure enough, Johnson intercepted Booth again there. He threatened Booth with his gun, demanding the golden egg. Just as Booth was about to give in, the female detective arrived. Booth seized the moment to knock Johnson's gun away and tried to escape through a window. Johnson lunged at him, and both tumbled onto the edge of the eaves. Seeing a pipe right below, Booth jumped straight down. By the time Johnson caught up, Booth was already riding an electric scooter, ready to escape. Johnson then glanced at a nearby sports car, immediately got in, and began the pursuit. But within seconds, the sports car was hit by a passing vehicle and smashed into a wall. By the time Johnson climbed out, he could only watch Booth speed away. 2 days later, Booth returned to his secret hideout. As he sipped wine, ready to admire the stolen golden egg, another voice echoed in the room. It turned out Johnson had been lying in wait. Police officers hiding outside stormed in, and Booth was arrested. arrested. The female detective then confiscated the golden egg. Booth voiced his confusion. His whereabouts were extremely secretive. How had the police pinpointed his location? Johnson explained that a mysterious figure known as the Bishop had provided the tip. Booth realized he had been betrayed. He was then escorted to a police car, the female detective in charge of taking him to the station, while Johnson was responsible for transporting the golden egg. But just after he placed the egg in the car, the officer closing the door, seeing no one around, reopened it, swapped the real egg for a fake, and sealed the vehicle again. When Johnson approached to board, the driver pointed out the door wasn't fully closed. Johnson went to check and found the egg still intact inside. Seeing nothing unusual, he got in and left. Yet after the car drove off, an officer hiding beneath it slowly stood up. As she removed her cap, it was the Bishop, the one who had betrayed Booth. The next day, Johnson was drinking at a bar when the female detective found him. She took the golden egg from her bag and smashed it on the ground. It shattered to pieces. Johnson was baffled. The detective explained the egg had been swapped the previous night. Their investigation revealed that $8 million had been transferred into Johnson's personal account that evening. With the evidence right before him, Johnson found himself unable to defend the accusations. He was arrested by the police. To prevent any escape attempt, he was sent to a special prison located in a frozen, snowy wilderness, accessible only by air and housing the most vicious criminals. Johnson would now have to share a cell with them.
I bought a dead body for $100,000. I pretended it was my father and rushed it to the hospital for treatment. I begged the doctors to save my father and said I would pay whatever it took. The doctor didn't even look at the patient and just pushed the body into the OR. When they realized the patient was a corpse, they still insisted on operating. They know that desperate relatives will spend anything to save a loved one. And this was the perfect chance for the hospital to squeeze money from the family. In the next moment, a group of doctors put on a fake scramble. They acted frantic, rushing in and out of the OR like they were saving a life. Then the attending handed me a list of drugs and told me my father was critical. The doctor told me to run to the pharmacy next door because only that place had the special medicines. I bought 2 huge bags of drugs from the list and spent the equivalent of half a year's income. When I handed the bags to the nurse and kept asking what the medicines were actually for, the nurse turned cold and told me it was complicated. The very next second, the nurse took the drugs back to the pharmacy and scolded the pharmacist. She said they should have sold me the more expensive medicines. No sooner had I bought the necessary drugs than a doctor came out and asked for another $500,000 for surgery. When I said I'd already paid surgical fees when we first arrived, the doctor said my father's condition was urgent and they needed to hire a famous specialist for an extra fee. After I paid again, a solemn expert went into the OR. But while we anxiously waited outside, the operating room was eerily calm and all the staff sat around chatting. Every half hour or so, a doctor would come out, each one playing their part like seasoned actors. Only after asking me for money several more times did the doctors finally walk out with grave faces and tell me sorry. They said my father couldn't be saved and had died. I begged them to try anything else, but the doctors said no attempt could bring a dead person back. Then I suddenly grew calm and mocked them, saying they specialized in treating the dead. I pulled out the corpse's death certificate and told the doctors that the patient wasn't my father at all. I had bought the body from the crematorium, and he had been dead for 3 days. I demanded to know what they had been doing in that, or for 8 hours. Was the whole point that as long as my bank account had money, the dead could always be given false hope of being saved?
In order to kill his girlfriend, Jack threw a bomb. He thought that at such a close distance, he would blow her to pieces, but he didn't expect that the girl appeared on the wall unscathed. Jack picked up a stone and threw it away. Then he pulled out an electric gun and shot at the girl. However, the powerful current not only didn't cause any harm to the girl, but also made Jack be thrown onto the wall by her. With the help of the wall's force, Jack fired a hidden weapon and quickly advanced to attack. But his combined attack didn't have any effect. He was also thrown to the ground by the girl. But the story wasn't over yet. The girl quickly stepped forward and forcefully thrust at Jack, almost taking Jack's life. Jack immediately used all his strength to attack the girl, but all his moves were caught by the girl one by one. The two were not on the same level. In less than a few rounds, the girl gradually lost her patience. She kicked Jack hard with her big foot and almost knocked him to the ground. Jack knew that if his feet were off the ground, it would be his end, so he desperately tried to break free. The girl became even more vicious. She no longer held back and intended to end this battle as soon as possible. With a burst of sound from behind Jack, the girl's exclusive weapon came out. Such a flamboyant scene completely stunned Jack. At the moment of the final battle, Jack naturally couldn't do without a weapon. His ex-girlfriend appeared in time and brought him a secret weapon. This man practiced his tongue speed like crazy. Keeping a coin stuck to the wall was just beginner level. To get faster, his father passed on his secret technique. Jack was just a poor student. One day his mom fell at work. To save up for her surgery, Jack started cleaning at his cousin's nightclub, but his good looks kept getting him harassed. A rich woman offered him 10,000 bucks. That moment Jack finally gave in, and that was the start of Jack's rise to the top. Through a co-worker's referral, Jack found a personal stylist, shedding his youthful looks completely. Later he met David, known as the world's fastest tongue. David could even lick a pill out of a 20 centimeters wide glass. This shocked Jack. Jack's first lesson was licking a coin against the wall, until it stayed put. Once he mastered that, he moved to smaller coins. With relentless effort, Jack soon reached his goal. Eventually even made a counter smoke from licking. Back at his cousin's club, Jack stole the show, combining skill and theory. Women flocked to him. Jack raked in piles of cash, but this woman's appearance would change Jack's fate forever. She was Mia, the crime boss's wife, abused at home by her husband. Feeling deeply empty inside, she sought out the rising star Jack. She gave him all her money. Jack thought of retiring, serving only Mia. But during a movie audition, Jack, who came with a co-worker, caught the director's eye. Director Anna had met Jack once before. Reunited, she was completely won over. She decided to make Jack famous. With Anna's promotion, Jack went from club model to hot celebrity. Their bond grew through work. Anna even took Jack home to meet her crime boss father. Unexpectedly, the boss's wife turned out to be Mia, his old client, and Anna was Mia's stepdaughter. That night the two met again. Jack wanted to end things with Mia. Seeing she couldn't keep him, Mia's eyes turned cold. To get revenge, she found Jack's cousin, paid big money for videos of Jack modeling at the club. Overnight, news spread that the star was once a club model. Anna saw it all. Too ashamed to face her, Jack guiltily tried to break up, but Anna vowed to stand by him. That melted Jack's heart. With Anna's help, Jack turned things around. He crafted an image of being slandered, yet forgiving those who wronged him. Seeing this, a bitter Mia drowned her sorrows, but drunk she forgot to shut her laptop. Her past intimate videos with Jack were seen by the crime boss. Enraged, the boss had Jack taken. Just as he was about to kill him, Anna rushed in. The boss hated his daughter falling for a model. During their argument, Mia suddenly walked out with a gun. The boss thought she wouldn't shoot, but a vengeful Mia would do anything for Jack. The boss was hit. Grief-stricken Anna rose to avenge her father, but Mia shot her too. Then Jack appeared behind them, picked up the gun and ended Mia's life. In the end, after the boss died, Jack inherited all his wealth, living a life of luxury. If it were you, would you choose to be a club model?
You alright? You need some money?
Everyone can use some money, right?
Here you go.
I forgot my manners. You got a couple $100 in there, and need that?
Please don't do anything. That's my medication. I've traveled across the country to see my children. Each time I find one, I ask them the same question. They happy? On Thanksgiving Day, I prepared dinner, waiting for my 4 children to come home to eat, but they all called saying they were too busy to return, so I decided to travel across the country to see them, but I have pulmonary fibrosis, can't fly, and my body can't handle too much strain. The doctor advised against it, but I just wanted to see my family. I packed enough medication for the journey to be taken on schedule. I packed my bags and wrote each child a letter. On the train, I chatted with a stranger. I proudly told her about my 4 children. First stop, my youngest son David's apartment. I rang the doorbell for ages, but no one answered. I waited at the door for a long time, but he didn't return. I had to leave, hoping he was just swamped with work. I walked to an art gallery and saw a painting whose style felt familiar. I looked down at the signature. It was my son David's name. I remembered when he was little. David said he wanted to be a painter. Clearly, he'd made it happen. The next day, I returned to David's apartment. A neighbor helped me get inside. At David's door, I knocked for a long time, but no one answered. Kept telling myself he was just out running errands. I took out the letter I'd written and slipped it through the door crack, hoping he'd find it when he returned. The first stop of my journey left me feeling lost, but I had to keep going. Next, I was headed to visit my eldest daughter. After several days of travel, I arrived at my daughter Amy's home. My grandson was well behaved, helping me with my suitcase. She'd married a wealthy man and lived a life of luxury. She seemed surprised to see me, but her smile felt strained. I sensed she was hiding something from me. During dinner, I noticed the relationship between my son-in-law and grandson seemed rather distant. I suggested staying a few days before heading to visit my eldest son, Robert. But Amy made numerous excuses, saying she was busy. I had no choice but to leave. At the airport farewell, I handed her the letter I'd written and asked, "Are you happy?" "You happy?"
Yeah, of course I am.
Seeing her joyful smile, I felt reassured and continued my journey. After many twists and turns, I finally found the band where my eldest son played. He told me he was the band's conductor. When I arrived at the rehearsal space, I discovered he wasn't the conductor. He was a drummer. The lie was exposed in that moment. I couldn't believe my son would lie to me. Watching him run toward me, I still forced a happy smile. I couldn't help asking him, "Why did you lie to me?" He said being a drummer meant less pressure and more chances to travel. Being a conductor was just bragging. I encouraged him to return to school for further studies, offering to pay for it myself to strive to become a real conductor, but he insisted his current life was what he wanted. I wanted to stay and accompany him for a few days, but he
The man sips his tea, then senses something wrong. His wife may have slipped poison inside. She says coldly he won't survive. He clutches his stomach in pain, stumbling toward the door. To stop her plan from working, he steps out onto the balcony, as if wanting her to live in guilt forever. She follows right behind. He whispers a faint confession, yet his eyes stay cold and distant. He stares hard at her, making her remember this moment, then leaps without hesitation. She looks down from above. Her husband lies still. Regret fades into a twisted smile. She rushes back inside, quickly opens the computer to steal his fortune. Laura thinks her troubles are over, but the account needs more than a password. It demands his face too. She runs to the balcony, but his face is unrecognizable. He had seen through her all along. Laura falls into despair, but she doesn't give up. She knows a skilled friend who can craft lifelike models. She seeks him out, weeping over her husband's death, claiming sleepless nights, her words full of grief. John feels pity. Laura seizes the chance, asking for a statue of her husband, saying it will ease her sorrow. John suspects nothing and agrees right away. But then a sudden noise. Laura looks around, finding nothing there. She doesn't realize every word was overheard by John's apprentice Anna. After the woman drove away, Anna told John, "This woman lies and hides an evil plan. Anna's gift is real." Her eyelids twitch at lies, but John won't believe. Since the couple were old friends, even if deceived, he doesn't mind. He only wants to help, and begins the work. Soon the statue is finished, delivered to Laura's home. She beams at the lifelike figure, then sets the camera on it. After some work, she cracks the account, transfers all the money, erases every trace. She exhales in relief, thinking the truth is buried. But John is starting to suspect. Out of nowhere, dozens of strange dumpling-shaped lumps appeared across the beach. Sarah, curious, walked over for a closer look only to step on one by accident. The squishy, disgusting texture beneath her foot made her freeze in shock. Before she could react, the sand around her began to shift. Something was moving under her. Fear shot through her, and she tried to back away, but a sharp pain struck her heel. When she looked down, a bizarre-looking worm had latched onto her foot. Terrified, she scrambled toward the beach house. By the time she made it inside, the creature had already burrowed into the bottom of her foot. She called out for help, but no one answered. Desperate, she dug through the cabinets for anything that could kill it. She found a bottle of disinfectant and poured it over the wound without hesitation. The burning pain shot through her entire body, but the parasite didn't budge. Gritting her teeth, she grabbed a small knife and cut into the area. As she worked through the pain, the creature's tail finally emerged. She clamped onto it with a pair of tweezers, stopping it from digging deeper. With one hard pull, she dragged out a half-meter worm. The horrifying sight made her fling it to the floor in panic. Once she finally caught her breath. While she was gutting the fish, a copper bottle fell out of its stomach. What could be inside? Driven by curiosity, she decided to pry the bottle open. Inside was a djinn who had been trapped for 3,000 years. As long as 3 wishes were made, the djinn could be completely free from the bottle's confinement. So, just like everyone who'd found the bottle before her, she made her first wish. She hoped to gain more extensive knowledge. The djinn immediately provided an enormous number of books for her to study. Oh my god, where's the magic? Granting wishes with a mountain of books? Luckily, the woman was quite smart. She had an amazing reading capacity. The room was almost too full to hold any more books. So the djinn melted down a delicate glass bottle, then placed a few books onto the glass solution. The djinn taught her how to use the magic spell. In the end, the books were magically stored inside the small bottle. Oh my god, something a single bookshelf could fix, and he had to make her rummage through all sorts of bottles like opening blind boxes? What was even more unexpected, the djinn fell in love with her for no reason at all. So when she tried to make another wish, the djinn stopped her right away. This way, the djinn wouldn't be freed from his bonds, and could stay with her forever. But the woman was extremely angry. She blamed the djinn for making her a sinner who burdened others. Moreover, her emotions gradually spiraled out of control. To punish himself, the djinn sealed himself into a bottle, just like those books. He thought she would use the spell to let him out once she cooled down, but she had no idea the djinn had done that. In a fit of rage, she made an irreversible wish. She wanted to forget him forever, to erase all memories related to the djinn. After she said that, her world fell silent, and the djinn was forever forgotten by her inside the bottle. Soon, time moved to the modern day. A British author was choosing souvenirs in a shop in Istanbul. She set her eyes on this bottle the moment she saw it. Back at the hotel, she started cleaning the stains on the bottle. There seemed to be traces of fire. Then she picked up an electric toothbrush nearby and scrubbed it carefully. Unexpectedly, she opened the bottle's mouth, and the djinn was released. When When Sophie was riding the subway, she casually grabbed the handrail, but to her disgust, her hand was suddenly covered in thick, lemmy slime. Feeling nauseated, she quickly flung it off and wiped her hand with a wet tissue. She thought it was just some disgusting prank by a random pervert, so she didn't take it too seriously. Later, when Sophie arrived at work, her colleague Emma noticed something alarming. Blood was dripping from her nose. Startled, Sophie rushed into the restroom to clean up, thinking it was just a simple nosebleed from staying up too late. But as she finally wiped the blood away and looked down, she was horrified to see 3 pus-filled boils growing along her neck, right where the phlegm had touched her skin. Panic set in immediately. She rushed to the hospital to see Dr. Miller, the dermatologist. After examining her, Dr. Miller asked if she had recently come into contact with anything filthy. The moment she heard that, Sophie remembered the sticky phlegm from that morning. After hearing her story, Dr. Miller concluded it was likely a bacterial infection and prescribed her some ointment to treat it. On her way home, Sophie couldn't wait. She took out the ointment and started applying it right away, desperately hoping to stop the infection before it spread.
The mother kept shaking the bell. Then she stared behind her daughter. It was as if she'd seen something terrifying. When the daughter turned to look, she found nothing on the ceiling. But her gravely ill mother warned her. The daughter was scared out of her wits. So, she had her younger brother take over caring for their mother. Soon the brother encountered something bizarre too. At first, the brother got up to close the window. But when he turned back, he saw their mother lifting her neck, and then she started staring behind him. Now the boy was spooked by his mother too. Before long, the mother rang the bell again. Anna walked into her mother's room, only to find her paralyzed mother standing up. Anna didn't think much of it. She wanted to get her mother to lie back down. But then the bell rang again. Anna was terrified now. Her mother was lying in bed, so who was this person standing there? Anna suddenly woke up from the nightmare, but it wasn't actually a dream, because the bell in her mother's room was ringing. Anna went to the room, and found the scene was just like in her dream, but she carefully looked behind her. Before she could feel relieved, her mother collapsed into her arms. The next day, with the help of the villagers, they buried their mother in the cemetery. Just when they thought the strange events would end, an even more terrifying nightmare began. That very night, the brother saw a figure rising up in the cemetery. They heard their mother ringing the bell again. Curious, he went to check his mother's room, and found the bell floating in midair by itself. The terrified brother started running. But the very next night, while the boy was listening to the radio, his mother's bell started ringing from inside it, and she was saying something too. The boy immediately turned off the radio, but the next second, his mother started calling out to him. At that moment, the boy suddenly realized his mother's hairbrush had appeared in his hand. Just when the boy thought the weird stuff had finally stopped, something was about to happen on Jack's end. Because they found their mother's photo too creepy, they wanted to cover it with a white cloth. But when the cloth fell, it flelled a strange sound. The 2 brothers were stunned. They spun around and started running. The sound of them running brought their sister Anna. The siblings huddled together. The boy had no choice but to pay respects to their mother again, burying the bell and brush in the cemetery, praying that their mother would stop haunting them. David told Anna about a terrifying discovery. He'd often seen a creepy figure lurking around their windows. At first, he thought it was Anna's mother. But when he asked their father yesterday, he learned that the figure was a ghost mimicking human form. After hearing this, Anna seemed to realize something. The mother who appeared in her dream might have been the ghost. Anna decided they'd move once their father returned. But it was too late. While the younger brother was playing with his toy camera, he suddenly saw the evil spirit's figure. At the same time, their grandmother drowned in the well. This tragedy plunged them into grief once again.
When the bureau chief was in the elevator, he immediately sensed something was wrong. It wasn't a hot day at all, yet the man standing beside him was sweating non-stop. The chief instantly realized something was off, and right after that, he noticed the man was trembling while holding an object that looked like a remote control. Just as he was about to question the man, the elevator reached his target floor. By the time the chief stepped out, the man had already vanished without a trace. Without overthinking, he headed straight to the hotel room door. Keeping his guard up, he suddenly glanced at a nearby waiter who unexpectedly greeted him. The chief was still trying to figure out what felt wrong when his subordinate spoke up, distracting him. Later, when the chief went to the bathroom, he recalled all the earlier incidents. He realized the man in the elevator seemed to have been waiting for him on purpose, and the hotel waiter had also acted strangely. Putting these clues together, the chief immediately understood he had walked into an ambush. He rushed out of the room, only to find the waiter had long gone, leaving behind a cleaning cart. The chief quickly told his subordinates to evacuate everyone from the room and call the police right away. He then hurried to push the cleaning cart into the emergency exit. The next second, the cleaning cart exploded. This woman gave her boyfriend a special gift before burying him. She then kissed him a final goodbye and slowly closed the coffin, and then sealed it with thick iron chains and buried him deep underground. 1,000 years later, construction workers accidentally dug up this coffin. They were very excited. They thought it must be full of gold and precious stones, but when they cut all the chains, a horrible scene happened in an instant. Everyone at the scene was sent to heaven by a vampire full of grievances. After replenishing a lot of energy, the vampire finally found his castle. When he walked in, the lights were still on. In the living room, there were 2 children watching cartoons. The girl was very confused when she saw the man wearing strange clothes. The brother recognized him from a picture on the wall. The man turned out to be their ancestor. But then a woman named Elizabeth came along. She was now the sole heir to the mansion. Elizabeth thought the man was just a con man trying to get money. The man could only prove his identity. He pressed a hidden button. A heavy wooden door slowly opened. The place was already occupied by Elizabeth. The man had no choice but to activate another mechanism.
A woman was standing on the top floor of a hotel when she accidentally touched a small piece of iron and suddenly fell down. She fainted instantly, but when the waitress looked up, the ceiling was completely intact. When the police arrived, they found a strange piece of metal floating in the air. The investigation revealed that the metal was not from Earth. The hotel's security footage showed that the piece had fallen from the woman's purse. As soon as she touched it, it dropped sharply like lightning to the ground floor. A little later, the police found another woman floating in the air completely motionless. When they removed a wire from her hand, she slowly began to move forward. The officers followed her and discovered several other people floating the same way, slowly spinning in the air. Scientists found that all of this was caused by alien debris that had fallen from the sky. Wherever these fragments landed, strange events began to occur. The next day, shopping carts in a supermarket started moving on their own, and every metal object was being pulled in one direction. The woman looked ahead. There was a transparent barrier standing before her. She threw a stone at it, and it passed straight through. But when she stepped forward herself, a mysterious figure appeared in front of her. Terrified, she stepped back. The police arrived and carefully removed the alien fragments from inside the barrier, rescuing the trapped people. Moral: curiosity teaches humans new things, but without understanding it can also lead them into danger.
The worker's foot slipped, but he accidentally touched the hammer on the roof, and the hammer quickly fell, directly smashing onto the rusted iron frame. In the next second, the entire structure collapsed, crushing a passerby to death on the spot. The bystanders froze in shock. Before they could even react, a beggar suddenly appeared in the street. He was dragging a heavy manhole cover. When passing by an oil tanker, he accidentally hit the anti-slip stone. Right as the tanker's brakes failed, the massive truck rolled downhill, slamming straight into an American official's car. Gasoline gushed out, flooding the vehicle completely. At that very moment, a passerby flicked away a lit cigarette. It hit the ground, igniting the gasoline in an instant. But the chain of coincidences didn't end there. As night fell, a nervous priest braved the pouring rain and entered the church to pray. When his prayer was finished, he turned to leave, but disaster struck again. A bolt of lightning hit the church, snapping its worn-out lightning rod in half. And in the very next moment, another deadly coincidence occurred. But behind this series of accidents, what terrifying truth is being hidden?
The cook accidentally shook ash from his cigarette into the soup. Seeing no one had noticed, he immediately scooped the ash out, then turned around and served the soup to the customer. However, to everyone's dismay, halfway through the meal, the customer found a cockroach in the soup. Yet the boss claimed it was a red date, saying it was very nutritious, and then directly picked up the cockroach and ate it. Furious, the customer filed a complaint against this roasted chicken restaurant. The next day, a health inspector came to conduct an inspection. Just as the inspector was about to fill out the documents, 2 mice fell from the ceiling. The boss quickly covered them with a bowl. Right after that, 2 more mice fell down, and the cook also hurried to cover them with another bowl. To distract the inspector, the cook even pretended to be doing exercise. But mice kept falling from the ceiling, and the staff had to keep covering them with bowls. The inspector watched the staff's strange actions. Feeling confused, he observed repeatedly but didn't spot anything wrong at first. Soon after, the inspector decided there were no issues and was about to leave. Unexpectedly, another mouse fell down. The boss quickly covered it with a bowl, but the inspector still heard the noise. In the end, he exposed their attempt to cover up the problem. This blind woman had just finished a surgery to restore her sight, and then she discovered something that sent chills down her spine. On the walls of her boyfriend's room, there were countless explicit photos of her and her twin sister. Driven by instinct, she walked straight out. But right after that, in the hallway, she saw the body of the neighbor girl. While she was panicking in fear, her boyfriend had already quietly approached her. Not long ago, Julia suddenly had trouble breathing. She collapsed to the ground in distress. Only after tearing off the scarf around her neck did the suffocation begin to fade, but she still felt very unwell. Her intuition told her something must have happened to her twin sister, Sarah. The sisters had shared a psychic bond since childhood. The next day, Julia brought her husband, Isaac, to Sarah's home. They knocked on the door frantically, but there was no response from inside. In desperation, they had no choice but to break in. At that moment, there was a sudden blackout, and the house was plunged into darkness. The couple split up to search for Sarah. Soon, Isaac accidentally noticed that the basement door was slightly open. When he pushed it open, he saw a pair of shoes at the bottom of the stairs. He rushed into the basement to check, only to be met with the sight of Sarah's corpse. The police arrived quickly, conducted a preliminary investigation, and then left just as fast. Right then, the power suddenly came back on. The abrupt sound of music immediately caught Julia's attention, because once the CD player had power, it began playing Sarah's most hated song. She turned off the CD player and went into the room. She told Isaac that when her sister died, someone else must have been in the house, but Isaac told her not to overthink it. She, like Sarah, suffered from an eye disease. Too much stress would only speed up her blindness. Just then, the power went out again. Isaac went to borrow a flashlight from the neighbors, leaving Julia alone in the house. Julia suddenly felt that someone else was in the room with her. She looked around warily, crouching carefully in a corner. But when her husband returned with the flashlight, everything immediately returned to normal. Soon, it was time for Sarah's funeral. The only attendees were Julia and Isaac. Julia placed a bouquet of flowers on the coffin. As she murmured to herself, a hand suddenly rested on her shoulder. She thought it was her husband, and instinctively placed her hand on it. But the next second, she saw her husband not far away, speaking with the cemetery caretaker. Julia quickly turned her head, looking around in shock, but behind her there was no one at all.
She worked the entire month without a single day off. The whole house depended on her cleaning, washing clothes, cooking, and quietly listening to the countless talks of the owner's son. All of this had become part of her routine. One morning, while cleaning the room, she found a small slip of paper near the bed. At first, she thought it was just a normal English word, but after searching it on the internet, she realized it was a digital wallet key. She was a little surprised, but then returned to her work. A few days later, while lifting a basket of fruits, her maid uniform felt slightly different. Madam noticed it, and instantly took her photo. Then she handed her phone to Anna and said, "Take a photo of me here as well." By mistake, the phone got locked, so Madam told her that the password was 4 zeros. In the afternoon, while serving lunch, Anna gathered courage and asked when her visa would be extended. Madam avoided the topic, smiled, and immediately picked up a phone call, ignoring her. She never got holidays, nor was she allowed to watch TV. At night, she used to calm her mind by reading books. One day, she and Gisela were looking at new statues in the garden. They looked just like ordinary stones to them. They had no idea of the real value, but she had heard the owners say that one of the statues had been sold for a very high price. That evening, while Anna was making coffee, Madam said, "Change your clothes, we are going to the seaside and I want you to meet some friends." The family members were out, so Anna got a chance to go out for the first time. Seeing the sea brought a real smile to her face. Gisela's friends treated her warmly. For the first time, she felt like she could live like a normal human being. Sitting by the sea, she created her first social media account. In the profile photo, she cropped out the part of her maid dress so no one would recognize her. She liked the profile of a local influencer named Sardenis and followed him immediately. Moral: every person deserves respect regardless of their job, status, or what they wear.
She saw a hole in her husband's pants and couldn't help but laugh out loud, but the next second, it turned out Jack had taken Anna's warm smile as mockery. She was in too much pain to speak. Meanwhile, her husband casually picked up the newspaper as if nothing had happened. As always, Anna didn't tell her daughter about the abuse from her husband, but this time the sharp pain in her lower back was more intense than ever, causing her to accidentally break some dishes. When Jack heard the noise, he cursed and humiliated her nonstop. This time, Anna couldn't take it anymore. Years of pent-up emotions finally exploded in this moment. She grabbed the glass of milk from the table and smashed it directly on Jack's forehead. Anna's sudden outburst caught Jack off guard. He was about to teach his wife a lesson when Anna suddenly picked up an axe and told him not to make any rash moves. Seeing that her husband still wouldn't back down, Anna simply threw the axe at him and told him to kill her with one strike if he dared. If he couldn't do it, then from tonight on, she would never again let Jack bully her like before. Jack never expected that Anna, who had always been weak and submissive, would do something so resolute, so he had no choice but to back down. After this incident, Jack never laid a hand on Anna again. It seemed like the family's life would return to normal, but before long, something even more terrifying happened. One day while Anna and her daughter were out, she accidentally noticed a necklace around her daughter's neck. This necklace had been passed down through Jack's family for generations. Anna had once been brutally beaten by Jack just for touching it, so how did it suddenly end up on her daughter? She asked her daughter how she got it, but her daughter responded with a pleading tone, hoping Anna wouldn't ask any more questions. Her daughter's strange reaction made Anna realize something horrifying. Jack had done something despicable to their daughter. Seeing her mother keep pressing, the daughter said nothing more. and after returning home grabbed a backpack and ran away. Anna tried to chase after her daughter, but unexpectedly stepped into a trap and fell. When she looked back, she discovered that beneath her feet was an abandoned mine shaft hundreds of meters deep. Although she couldn't catch up with her daughter, Anna knew that all of this was Jack's fault. If she wanted to protect her daughter from further harm, there was only one solution: kill her husband.
The man threw his wife down the stairs. When their daughter saw her, the mother was already motionless on the floor. Father explained that she'd gotten drunk and fallen. After he left, Anna approached her mother's body. She was still breathing faintly, pleading for Anna to call an ambulance, but Anna turned away without a word. Because her mother often abused her soon, the body was discovered. With no security cameras nearby, the death was ruled an accident. Before long, Anna's father moved them into a new home. He had already been involved with a wealthy woman. His new wife had a son of her own, and Anna and Mike quickly became friends. But when the stepmother's savings began to run low, she and the man plotted to send Anna away, first to perform in adult films for money, then to an orphanage. Anna overheard everything from the hallway. One day, Mike fell ill. Instead of going to his mother, he went to Anna. His mother would only tell him to rest, but Anna let him lie down in her bed and cared for him tenderly, giving him the warmth he'd been missing. While looking after him, Anna noticed Mike didn't resemble his mother at all, so Mike showed her a family photo. That's when Anna saw it. Mike looked just like their chauffeur. When she casually mentioned this to her stepmother, the woman grew visibly tense. Anna knew she'd struck a nerve. She threatened to expose the secret unless her stepmother called off the plan to send her away. Furious, the stepmother dragged Anna out of the room, but Mike saw everything. He followed them to the bathroom and witnessed a terrifying scene. It was then he realized his mother might not love him at all. In a moment of distraction, Anna broke free and fled. She begged Mike to call the police, then leaped from the upstairs window.
Without looking back. Who would have thought, by ordering just a simple burger, I narrowly escaped a deadly trap? The other guests weren't so lucky. The staff sprinkled breadcrumbs around them, poured egg yolk and cream on the floor, and dressed them in ridiculous marshmallow coats. Moments later, the chef picked up a piece of charcoal and stepped into the center of the dining room. As my boat drifted away from the island, I saw the restaurant engulfed in roaring flames, and a chill ran through me. I knew those people were doomed.
I tied the woman to the dining table and slathered her entire body with cooking oil. Then I sprinkled a layer of salt over the oil. Finally, I placed the woman inside the oven. 30 minutes later, the aroma of roasting meat wafted from the oven. I placed the roasted flesh on the table. Her family had also been bound and brought here. The supermarket owner watched his wife's pitiful state and let out a pained roar. The others grew even more terrified, for next I would start a live stream and send everyone into the oven. I did this for revenge. It turned out that last Thanksgiving, a supermarket launched a midnight $0 shopping event. The news spread, and crowds gathered at the supermarket entrance. The owner's daughter and her friends entered early, even bragging to those outside. Customers who'd waited endlessly grew furious. Ignoring everything, they knocked down barriers and stormed the store. Security guards tried to stop them, but it was too late. They smashed through the glass doors, trampling guards in their rush. People acted as if the apocalypse had arrived. They grabbed items without regard for others' safety. My pregnant wife accidentally stumbled. She just wanted to find a quiet spot to hide, but she was crushed by a woman's shopping cart. Yet she didn't stop her actions. Instead, she pulled out her hair and continued shopping. Only when I arrived did I stop the stampede. Afterwards, the victim's family sued the supermarket owner, but the surveillance footage had been deleted, so the owner faced no consequences. He even planned to hold similar supermarket events next Thanksgiving. I transformed into a butcher to avenge my wife. First target, I wanted to kill the woman who ran over my wife. After learning she worked at a restaurant, I ambushed her as she left work, grabbed her hair, and slammed her face into the icy sink. Next, I opened the freezer door, pressed her face against the ice. The next day, I hung her lower body at the supermarket entrance. I deliberately appeared in public, just to conceal my butcher identity. Next was the supermarket owner's daughter. That day, she came to the library alone, giving me the chance to kill her. Though she escaped my pursuit this time, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I will wipe out the supermarket owner's entire family. This spectacular revenge story officially begins at this very moment.
A handsome young man was rolled into the morgue, and the mortician, who'd been single for 30 years, couldn't help letting her imagination wander. She covered his face with a white sheet and picked up her scalpel, ready to begin the autopsy, when hurried footsteps echoed from the hallway. Nervous, Emily stepped out to check and noticed an envelope sitting on a cabinet. Inside was a greeting card, but she brushed it aside and went back to work. Just as she raised the scalpel, the body on the table suddenly took a breath. Terrified, Emily stumbled backward. knocking into a storage cabinet. A corpse tumbled out, and in that moment she realized the body on the floor was the one she was actually supposed to examine. The man on the table had vanished. Panicking, she ran to grab a scalpel for protection and headed for the exit, only to find the main doors locked. She tried the back door, but an arm suddenly wrapped around her neck from behind. In desperation, Emily drove the scalpel into the attacker's thigh and broke free. With him chasing her down the corridor, she ducked into a cold storage room. She barely caught her breath before the masked man appeared in the doorway, scanning the rows of frozen bodies.
The robbers ripped open the woman's clothes, tied her and the man together, and then quickly started the yacht. The ropes binding them tightened rapidly, dragging them into the sea. The yacht's immense pull quickly brought them to the surface. The man tried to break free, but the cunning robber noticed and immediately increased the yacht's speed. Worse still, the area was covered in sharp coral. To protect the woman, the man deliberately rolled over, using his back to shield himself from the coral. His back was instantly lacerated by the coral, and the blood immediately attracted sharks. Seeing the sharks approaching, the man quickly twisted his body to avoid their attack. At that moment, the robbers also saw the sharks in the water. He ordered his men to steer the yacht back into the shark-infested area, intending to use the two men as bait. Suddenly, the man noticed the rope was loose. He knew this was the perfect opportunity to escape. As the yacht turned, they went back underwater and tied the rope to the rocks. Once the yacht had completed the turn, the robbers immediately accelerated. The man gripped the rope tightly, trying his best to prevent the rope from slipping off the rocks. The robbers, thinking they had caught a shark, quickly accelerated. Finally, through the man's relentless efforts, the rope snapped under the weight of the yacht. Suddenly, a boy sprang up, throwing one of the robbers into the sea. Sharks spotted the robber and quickly surfaced, devouring him. The man and his companion were temporarily out of danger. Enraged to see his man eaten by sharks, the robber leader steered the yacht towards the man. As the yacht drew closer, the man and woman tried to untie the ropes. In the last second before the yacht hit them, they escaped and dived underwater. To avoid being discovered by the robbers, they swam directly to the seabed. Fortunately, they found an oxygen tank left behind by the robbers after catching the shark. However, the tank only lasted 20 minutes. The robber leader, unable to find them, assumed they had been eaten by sharks and turned to leave. The man successfully escaped the robbers' pursuit. After swimming to the surface, the two climbed the ladder onto the yacht.
When I was 3, a doctor put a steel needle into my head. From that day on, there was a strange chip inside my brain. Mom was happy. She thought she finally had the perfect parenting tool. Through that tablet PC, she could see everything I did. She could also control the world I saw. One time on the street, I met a big, fierce dog. It barked at me so hard, but in that second, Mom tapped the screen on her tablet PC. The dog turned into a mosaic. It wasn't scary anymore. Sometimes I sneaked a cookie. Mom could see it right away. No cookies. I heard Mom's warning. I stopped and only took one. I thought life would always stay like that, until that day. Mom went to work and Grandpa stayed home to draw with me. He suddenly had a heart attack. He fell on the floor, making painful sounds. Facing Grandpa's call for help, I froze, because I saw Grandpa turn into a mosaic. Even his voice became strange noise. It turned out Mom had filtered everything that might make me scared, sad, or angry. Because of my emotional spike, Mom got an alert from the tablet PC in time. Grandpa was saved. But after that, I never wanted to go near Grandpa again. Even on the day Grandpa passed away, Mom cried her heart out, and I just stood there watching her, because Mom's face was also a mosaic. Until that moment, she still hadn't noticed what was wrong with me, until...
This man had created the beast, but he was always angry at the beast, meaning Jim, because Victor felt that he had failed while creating him, and Jim was nothing but the result of that failure. That's why he wanted to erase him. So he spread gasoline all around the room and left from there. Seeing the fire rising, Jim called out to Victor for help, but he didn't get any answer. So he broke his chains and escaped through a pipe that led into the ocean. After some time, when he opened his eyes, he had washed up on the shore. When he walked into the forest, Jim found a deer there. He went close to it and started feeding it leaves, but suddenly, some hunters arrived and hunted the deer. And when they saw Jim, he looked like a monster to them, so they shot at him. Jim somehow saved himself and ran far away, badly injured. He reached a house and hid inside. The house belonged to an old man, and when he saw Jim in such a condition, he let him stay with him and helped him. The old man taught Jim how to read and write. Later, Jim returned to the place where he had been created. The place was destroyed, but he found some papers there. After reading them, he discovered that he was not human. This made him sad, and when he came back toward the old man's house, he saw that some wolves had attacked the old.
I stuffed that creepy doll into a trash bag and tossed it out. Then it showed up at my door again. I saw the cleanup crew sorting garbage downstairs. Then I ran over and handed the doll to them. Less than 10 minutes later, a sharp siren blasted from the street. I rushed out and heard a sanitation truck had a bad accident. A worker got his leg caught in the machine. I froze at the sight and kept my distance. Then I saw my daughter walking home from school with that doll in her arms. The next day, my daughter pulled me to play play hide and seek. I chased her to the laundry room and saw two small hands sticking out from the washer. I had no time to think, and an accident happened. My daughter was lucky and only got a few scrapes. My husband was shaken and made me get checked. The report came out and the doctor said I had severe depression. My husband wanted me to stay in the hospital. I could only think about one thing. I had to get rid of that doll. My husband called a nearby temple to ask if they could burn it. They said we had to wait until next month. My husband sent them a photo of the doll, and they called back right away. They told him to bring it in at once. He felt uneasy and checked the mark on the box. Then he found out the maker was a famous craftsman. He made dolls to honor his daughter who died young.
She looked up while smoking and saw something unbelievable. A bunch of planes were flying across the sky in a creepy formation.
Look. Was that weird? Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? All of them kind of parallel like that.
Her friend didn't take her seriously, but the next second,
Shit!
she rushed over to check, only to find the driver unconscious. She turned back to ask Helen for help.
Helen! Helen, stop looking at the goddamn phone!
But the driver suddenly began convulsing. She looked at Helen in fear.
Helen? Oh my god, Helen! Helen?
Helen started twitching too. She remembered there were still people inside the bar. She ran back in to get help.
Call 911!
But the scene stunned her. Everyone in the bar was twitching in the same creepy way, collapsing like zombies. In panic and fear, she found a phone. She managed to call the police, but all she heard was a cold automated voice.
You've reached the Albuquerque Police Emergency Number. Please remain on the line. An operator...
She ran back outside, dragged the bar's signboard as a makeshift cart, and secured Helen on it. But their car had an alcohol ignition lock, and she had just been drinking.
Fuck you!
She remembered the car from the crash earlier. She kicked the driver into the passenger seat, then pushed Helen into the car. She floored it onto the road. She saw police lights in the distance. But the police car was flipped over. The cops weren't spared either. She looked ahead. The entire city was on fire. An unknown disaster had completely erupted. She drove toward the hospital with a shred of hope, but the hospital had fallen too. Everyone showed the same symptoms. She found a doctor.
Dr. Nguyen, I need you to wake up.
But the doctor was clearly affected as well. With no other choice, she had to do it herself. A baby on the counter was about to fall. Luckily, she caught it in time. She steadied herself, found a gurney to start emergency care. Just then Helen seemed to wake up.
Baby.
But the next second, Helen stopped breathing. She desperately performed CPR, but it seemed too late. Before she could even grieve, she looked up again and saw everyone in the hospital looking normal again. Even the driver in the passenger seat. Everyone casually walked out. She carefully called out to the doctor, but everyone turned their heads at the same time.
What is happening?
The doctor frowned at her. Suddenly, she froze in fear, stumbled back a few steps, and saw a group of people handling Helen's body.
Hey, don't you touch her! You put her down! Put her down! Get out! Go away! What the hell is wrong with you people? We just want to help, Carol.
Everyone had the same expression, the same tone. The atmosphere was terrifying. Carol sensed something wrong, ran back to the car and sped off. The whole night felt unreal. She even wondered if she was dreaming. On the way, Carol thought she saw a group of normal people, but as soon as she stopped, they all looked at her with the same expression. She had to keep running. Behind her, those people were repairing the city, but to Carol, they were the strangest thing of all. She finally made it home, but realized she lost her keys when she tried to open the door. She picked up a rock to break in, when two kids suddenly walked toward her.
There's a spare key. We can show you.
No, stop, don't come any closer.
This was an extremely eerie rabbit. Whenever it beat the small drum in its hands, it meant a terrifying ghost had appeared in the house. But using this rabbit came at a heavy price. When the girl used it, she would not only bleed profusely from her nose, but she also had to cover her eyes for 24 hours. During this period, the girl couldn't hear any sounds, and the process could not be interrupted. Since the girl's father had to travel for business, he paid Jack $200 to stay as a caregiver. To ensure Jack wouldn't harbor any ill intentions toward the girl, the man made him wear specially designed clothing and bound Jack with iron chains. The length of the chains reached exactly to the girl's bedroom door. After the man left, Jack suddenly felt the urge to urinate. He hurried to the bathroom to relieve himself, but discovered the chains weren't long enough. With no other choice, he could only take care of it at the doorway. Looking at the little dog that was also chained up, he felt deeply humiliated. But for the money, he persevered. Jack could only distract himself by looking at photos. Just then, the room's light suddenly went out, and the chains on his body were tugged. Jack thought this was just the girl playing a prank, but when he opened the door, he found the girl hadn't moved. With no other option, Jack returned to his room to sleep. Suddenly, a noise woke him up. He discovered a painting had fallen to the floor. The eyes of the woman in the painting made Jack's blood run cold, so he turned the painting around. After returning to bed, Jack uneasily turned his head back. To his horror, he found the painting had turned back around. Jack could only turn the painting away again. Only after confirming the painting hadn't flipped back did he relax. However, a few minutes later, the painting suddenly fell to the ground. When Jack picked it up, he found the woman's expression in the painting had become extremely menacing. This bizarre scene made him afraid to stay in the bedroom. Jack hurried to the living room to rest. Just then, the rabbit suddenly beat twice, as if it were communicating with Jack. As the rabbit's beating grew faster and faster, the door behind Jack slowly opened. At that moment, the sudden beating abruptly stopped. Jack turned around but found nothing there. This filled him with a vague sense of unease. Jack picked up the rabbit and cautiously made his way to the basement. Soon, a hole caught his attention. He felt as though something inside the hole was watching him. So Jack curiously took his flashlight to investigate. The next second,
Jesus! His wife and daughter were murdered, so he spent 10 years studying law, just to win justice for them. In the interrogation room, the prosecutor asked if he killed the murderer. He admitted he wanted to, but legally they couldn't convict him. The prosecutor was stunned by how well he knew the law.
I will give you a confession, a real confession. You just have to give me something in return.
Yeah, well, since you are a murderer, what might that be?
A bed.
What shocked the prosecutor even more was that his daughter received a mysterious disc. The little girl played it out of curiosity. It showed the entire crime in detail. The prosecutor got a call from home and flew into a rage. Even with the footage, he still couldn't convict the man because Clyde was wearing a helmet in the video. In the end, the prosecutor agreed to Clyde's request. During the hearing, the prosecutor asked the judge not to release Clyde, but he had no evidence. Clyde defended himself.
Information relating to my involvement in the matter in question, then I find it highly prejudicial, even constitutionally offensive, to keep me detained without bail. It's a slippery slope, Your Honor.
Everyone in the courtroom was stunned. The judge had no choice but to release Clyde on the spot. To everyone's surprise, Clyde clapped his hands with a smug smile.
No, I don't think I will excuse you. You see, this is what I'm talking about. You were about to let me go. Are you kidding me? This is why we're here in the first place. You think I don't remember who you are, lady?
His attitude infuriated the judge, who nervously banged the gavel, then charged Clyde with contempt of court and sent him back to jail. Back in the interrogation room, Clyde confessed to everything. The prosecutor finally had the evidence he needed. Just as he was about to go home, Clyde gave him a new condition.
So for lunch, I would love a 20-ounce porterhouse steak. Medium, maybe a little bit charred.
The prosecutor looked into it and found that the lawyer had indeed been missing for 7 days. They quickly ordered a steak delivery, but the warden deliberately had it checked over and over. 8 minutes later, they were finally allowed in. They wheeled the steak past the other inmates, which triggered protests throughout the cell block. Clyde happily dug into his steak.
Hey, what time is it?
1 o'clock. It's 1:08.
Well, that's disappointing, Warden. I mean, how can you expect me not to fuck with you?
Then he gave them the lawyer's location. Police rushed to the spot, but when they opened the container, the lawyer was already dead. Exactly 8 minutes ago. Everything had gone exactly as Clyde planned. Soon another incident occurred. Clyde secretly kept the bone from the steak and used it to kill his cellmate. The warden was too shocked to speak. Clyde was then thrown into solitary confinement. Meanwhile, the prosecutor uncovered Clyde's secret identity. He used to be a top CIA operative. All CIA operations were planned by him. He was always several steps ahead. That's what made him so terrifying. Then something else happened. As the prosecutor was meeting with the judge, her phone suddenly rang.
Hello?
Everyone in the room froze in shock. Clyde was in prison, yet he still managed to kill the judge. How was that even possible?
A man unexpectedly witnessed a murder scene. He took out his phone to call the police. As he dialed, the lights suddenly turned on. It was his wife getting up to drink water. Afraid of being discovered, Alan hurried to turn off the light, but the killer had already noticed him. He carefully crawled over to check, ended up making eye contact with the killer. The killer used his hand to count the floors of Alan's building, then started walking in his direction. Alan first grabbed a baseball bat, then quickly locked the door. Alan was terrified. He imagined fighting the killer in his mind, but he waited until 4 a.m. There was no movement at the door. What he didn't know at the time, the woman downstairs is not dead yet. She was even trying to call the police. The terrifying part was the killer hadn't left. The killer took the woman's phone. He struck her twice with a hammer, killing her completely. The next day when he left for work, the woman's body was indeed discovered. The police were gathering clues. He originally intended to identify the killer, but he was afraid his wife and daughter would be harmed. So he decided not to identify the killer, thinking the killer would spare him. That day he and his wife saw the news about the murder case in their complex. Suddenly the home phone rang. His wife walked over and answered. No one spoke on the other end. His wife thought it was a prank, but the phone rang again the next moment. Still no one spoke. Alan answered, but again there was silence. He rushed to the balcony to check. To his horror, he discovered the next second his dog was missing. He and his wife searched downstairs for a long time, couldn't find any trace of the dog. That day he was horrified to see his wife had put up lost dog flyers, clearly listing their apartment number. He quickly tore down the flyers, praying the killer hadn't seen them. That night a neighbor from the 4th floor came to him. The neighbor claimed to have witnessed the murder. Alan lied and said he hadn't seen anything. Then she asked if he had received any silent phone calls. Alan then pushed the woman out of his apartment. As she took the elevator home, a person in a black hat entered. She recognized him as the killer. Seeing the elevator go down to the 1st floor, she felt temporary relief. But as she was about to enter her code to open the door, the killer rushed out from the stairwell. The woman was dragged in just as she opened the door. At this time, Alan regretted driving the woman away to the 4th floor looking for the woman, but found her door wasn't closed. Peering through the crack, he saw, to his horror, that she had also been killed. Just as Alan closed the door to leave, suddenly,
I was covered head to... I needed to squeeze myself into the sewer. My skin got torn open, blood streaming everywhere. I let out agonizing screams, but I had no choice. I had to push through. Everyone worked together, straining with all their might until they finally shoved me down into the sewer. I found the vaccine in a corner. The people above wanted me to hand it up to them, but I refused. I was terrified that if I gave it up, there'd be nothing left for me, so I secretly hid it away. Following the sewer line, I made my way to the drainage outlet by the bar entrance. That's when I witnessed the FBI conducting a second round of disinfection on the bodies. I was so spooked that I lost my grip and fell. Meanwhile, the people above had been using tools to break open the sewer entrance, making it much wider. Everyone started jumping down. I saw the bearded guy seize the opportunity to drag the homeless man into the water. After 2 gunshots, the bearded guy climbed back up, gun in hand. But 3 vaccines still weren't enough for 4 people. The bearded guy completely lost it and pulled out his gun, ready to take out the clerk. After some intense persuasion, he finally backed off. I led the group to search for more vaccines. In the pitch-black sewer, I could have sworn I saw the fat lady pushing the clerk into the water, trying to drown him. The bearded guy fired a shot. The brief flash of light exposed her evil intent, and we rushed to stop her. The clerk, having narrowly escaped death twice, was completely devastated. I could see the guilt written all over the fat lady's face. She said she couldn't get the vaccine and didn't want to die a tortured death from the virus. She took a gun, found a corner somewhere, and ended it. I pulled out the vaccines and distributed them, 1 for each person. Suddenly, I saw the clerk get struck down and killed with a club. I was stunned. It was the homeless man. He hadn't died after all. The enraged homeless man had both me and the bearded guy scared out of our minds. Now, unarmed, the bearded guy and I ran for our lives, with the homeless man chasing us like a demon possessed. Finally, we found an exit. We pushed desperately against the manhole cover, but I accidentally dropped my vaccine. I saw the homeless man grab hold of the bearded guy. Knowing there was no escape, the bearded guy simply handed me his vaccine. He and the homeless man fell together to their deaths. I immediately injected the vaccine and used every ounce of strength I had left to push open the manhole cover. I could see the bar in the distance, completely sealed off. People had no idea what had just happened. I was the only one from that bar who made it out alive. I wandered the streets in a daze. Some kind stranger, seeing how rough I looked, draped a coat over my shoulders. But no one could possibly know the brutal fight for survival I'd just lived through. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to heal from those few short hours.
He had already been executed, yet he was secretly kept as a test subject. On the surface, he was a serial killer, but in reality, he was a deranged psychopath. Every day, he was taken out for different experiments and then sent back to his cell to await the next summons. Like him, Countless executed prisoners were still alive, held deep underground in a missile silo stretching nearly 100 meters. It turned out this was a prison that was never supposed to exist. At its center stood an octagonal glass chamber, the computer control hub, from where every inmate was under strict surveillance. Once locked inside, escape was impossible. The exit of the prison was disguised as a barn, and even the rotating guards did not know one another. Yet a single accident was about to unleash a catastrophic crisis upon the surface world. One day, while the psychopath was sketching sunflowers as usual, he suddenly noticed the wall mirror shaking violently. A fire had ignited in the underground pipes, sparking a massive explosion in an instant. All sensors went offline. The control hub shook like an earthquake, and the blast waves shattered the one-way mirrors. Prisoners roared as they saw a chance to escape. To stay was to be buried in rubble, so they gambled everything on freedom. A guard who had just finished his shift was swallowed by the shockwave before he even made it far. By sheer luck, he survived the catastrophe. Dazed and unsure how much time had passed, the guard suddenly saw a figure approaching. If the psychopath had escaped, disaster awaited them. The man quickly changed clothes and soon set his eyes on a young woman. As she quietly approached her car, he grinned wickedly and stretched out his sinful hand.
A retired detective pulled back the shower curtain and noticed something strange near the bathtub drain. There, hidden inside, was a severed woman's finger. Years of experience and sharp instinct told him that the fridge was hiding something even darker. The moment he saw what was inside, he knew the killer from 30 years ago was back. The landlord heard the noise from the bathroom, and was so terrified by what he saw that he fell to the floor. Jack then opened the freezer compartment. Inside was a bag of fresh meat, and I'm sure you can already guess whose flesh that really was. The landlord could have never imagined that the man standing before him was the same serial killer who committed 13 murders 30 years ago. Just a few days earlier, one morning, the police had found the body of an elderly man in his 60s. At first, they ruled it as an accidental drowning, but days later, a young boy playing soccer accidentally wandered into a hidden alley. There, he found a glass door covered with flies. Curious, he knocked on it. When the flies scattered, he saw an old man's body inside, long dead and rotting. The police quickly sealed off the area. The landlord, being a locksmith, was called in to help open the door. While they worked, an officer told him that although the man appeared to have died peacefully in his sleep, something about it just didn't sit right. This victim, he said, and the old man who drowned a few days ago, their deaths seemed strangely connected. The landlord felt uneasy after hearing that. He was about the same age as the victims and had lived alone for many years too. He began to fear that one day, he too might die quietly in his sleep, never to be found. But what he didn't know was that the deaths of those two old men hid a horrifying secret.
I came home from work and caught my wife in bed with my best buddy Nick. When we divorced, the kids and the house were both given to her. On top of that, I still had to pay child support every month, and even cover the mortgage for my ex-wife and her new man Nick. However, she still blamed the whole divorce on me.
If you were even remotely self-aware, you'd realize these things don't happen in a vacuum. And you could maybe take a little portion of responsibility for your side of it.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you sleep with Nick. You kick me out of this place. I'm forced to pay for this entire mess, and I'm the one that's not being responsible.
I'm not doing this right now.
Oh, well, it's really no fun doing it alone.
Then Nick came over and asked me to join him in the backyard for steak. I turned him down. I just wanted to stay away from the guy who ruined my family. My home life was gone, but as a career guy, I still had plenty of places to hang out. Then my boss invited me out and told me I was fired. The reason was that I had slept with an employee. She wasn't even in my department, but he used the no relationship policy against me. My boss even had HR steal all my client files. My capital account got taken back by the company, and all I got was 6 months advance salary.
Fuck you.
I was broke, but I didn't give up. I went to interview after interview. Turns out my fling with that employee was already spread through the whole industry. No company wanted me. I was in a bad mood, so I went drinking at a neighborhood party Peter was hosting. He came up to me all warm and friendly, but soon showed what he was really after.
Oh, hey, I'm, sharing that cancer benefit again this year, and I penciled in for 2 tables since last year.
How much are the tables again?
30 grand, 60 for the pair.
In rich circles, the money he talked about was nothing, but I was out of work and needed cash to cover alimony and the mortgage. I didn't want to lose face, so I agreed. Then my ex-wife showed up with Nick. I became the joke of the party. I made an excuse, slipped inside, and planned to get a little revenge on Peter. In his storage room, I found luxury watches and stacks of cash. I picked up a bundle, looked at it, and put it back down. For a rich guy like him, that money was nothing. But I was a broke, divorced man without a job, so I ended up taking the cash. Back home, I stared at the money I'd stolen. I decided to use it to get some excitement in this messed up life.
My aunt suddenly snapped the branch in her hands. My parents became like controlled puppets, picking up the forks from the table and frantically stabbing them into their own faces. I tried to stop them, but it was completely useless. It wasn't until my aunt threw the branch in her hands into a bowl filled with water that my parents finally stopped. My aunt demanded that I help her keep the secret. She said if I didn't obey her, she would make my parents hurt themselves to death. Faced with my aunt's threats and terror, I had no choice but to submit. In the days that followed, I continued going to school as usual, but my parents remained sitting at the table, never moving. I was very worried about my parents' physical condition, so I went into my aunt's room to ask. My aunt only coldly told me to get canned food to feed my parents. From then on, every day after school, I would first go to the supermarket to buy canned food, then hurry home to carefully feed my unresponsive parents. This kind of life went on for a long time. One night, I was suddenly awakened by my aunt. In the dim room, my aunt's face was deathly pale. She weakly told me that she was seriously ill and that the hospital could no longer cure her. She hoped I could save her. Then my aunt stated her conditions. If I could help her bring back one item from each of my classmates, once she recovered, she would immediately go back home. In order to help my parents recover quickly, I took advantage of the time when my classmates were playing basketball to quietly slip back into the classroom and take away their name tags. However, at that moment, my homeroom teacher suddenly walked into the classroom. Seeing that something was wrong with my condition, the teacher patiently comforted me. But at that moment, all I could think about was rescuing my parents. After school, I stuffed my classmates' name tags into my aunt's room. That night, my aunt began practicing witchcraft. She gently shook the bell in her hand, and the clock happened to point to 2:17. All my classmates ran out of their homes, flooded onto the streets, one after another, and ran into the basement of my house. It was then that I realized my aunt had deceived me. But looking at my parents, who were still being controlled, I didn't dare expose this lie. I could only choose silence and cooperate with my aunt in dealing with police inquiries. When the police officers came to search the house, I helped tidy up the place, watching my aunt use witchcraft to control my classmates and make them hide outside. Once the police left, classmates were summoned back to the basement. When school reopened, I was assigned to study in other classes. I still continued as usual, going to the supermarket every day after school to buy canned food. It's just that, after returning home, in addition to feeding my unresponsive parents, I also had to feed those classmates who were imprisoned in the basement.
The girl was waiting for the subway when something terrifying happened. A strange woman suddenly leaned toward her and said, "Your nose is so beautiful." The girl froze, thinking the woman was talking to someone else, so she ignored her. But the woman continued, "Your nose is too beautiful." What seemed like a harmless comment quickly turned disturbing as that eerie voice kept whispering. The girl slowly turned her head and saw a face twisted by a failed cosmetic surgery. The woman's bizarre smile made her scalp tingle with fear. The girl didn't even know this woman. Why was she obsessively complimenting her? "Your hairstyle is beautiful too." The girl's eyes drifted down and noticed the woman holding a cup filled with an unknown liquid. Sensing danger, the girl quickly stepped away and moved to another subway door. But when she turned her head again, the woman had vanished. In the reflection of the glass, the girl saw her suddenly appear behind a pillar. Panicking, she looked away, trembling. But then, rushing footsteps echoed closer and closer. She turned around. The woman was staring at her with a twisted posture, creeping toward her. The girl spun back around, but the footsteps grew louder. The woman was even closer now. She tried to get help, but the passers-by couldn't see the woman at all.
I was on a trip, and I saw my husband, the one who died 7 years ago. I froze. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I waved at him without thinking. But then, 3 kids ran up beside him. I told myself, it's just someone who looks like him. His wife took off her glasses, and I saw me. She looked exactly like me. I stood there completely blank. My mind was spinning. When I snapped out of it, they were already gone. I ran to catch a cab, begged the driver to follow their car. But he had another pickup. He turned me down. I rushed back to the service desk, asked for the man's information. They ignored me. I raised my voice, told them he might be my dead husband. The staff looked at me like I was crazy. Security showed up and kicked me out. I went home, opened my phone, and searched non-stop online. Hours later, I found their profile. It wasn't just in my head, they were real. I saw her post. They were having an anniversary dinner tomorrow. I went to a salon, got the exact same haircut she had. Next day, I got to the restaurant early, and there they were. When she left for the restroom, I followed. She saw me and didn't even flinch. It was like she already knew I existed. She warned me to stay away from her husband. Then out of nowhere, she slapped me. I snapped, grabbed the trash bin and swung it at her. She dropped to the floor, completely still. No response, no sign of life. I panicked. But one thought took over. I need him back. I walked out, went straight to him and hugged him. He didn't notice a thing, not a single doubt. He couldn't even tell us apart. People started calling for help in the restroom. I said I felt sick and asked to go home. Maybe it was the wine, but I passed out in the car. When I woke up, I was in a mansion. The air smelled like him. The pillows, everything felt like home. I never thought I'd be in his arms again. This place was insane. Even the bathroom was bigger than my old apartment. But what I didn't know, she was still alive. Doctors brought her back. She asked them to call the police and her husband. But instead of cops, a psychiatrist walked in. They thought she was crazy and they locked her up.
I was just reaching for some water during the flight when I noticed my fingernails turning black at an alarming rate. As a doctor, I immediately recognized this as a sign of severe oxygen deprivation in my heart and lungs. Before I could even think of what to do, the bottle in my hand started warping and twisting, while the cup on my tray table began shaking violently. The flight attendant quickly caught on that something was wrong. She rushed to her seat, buckling up while shouting for passengers to fasten their seatbelts immediately. But it was already too late. The next second, we hit severe turbulence. Water from cups started floating in midair, and passengers who hadn't buckled up were sucked upward by the sudden depressurization and violent air currents. The entire cabin shook violently, and passengers were frozen in terror. I watched as people desperately clung to their armrests, silently praying they'd make it through alive. I noticed the captain had recognized the crisis too, quickly putting on his oxygen mask. The cabin's depressurization caused the overhead oxygen masks to drop down. Passengers frantically grabbed them and started breathing, but my wife passed out before she could get oxygen, unable to breathe properly. To save her, I stumbled over to the crew area and grabbed an emergency oxygen bottle from the emergency kit, quickly getting it on her face. That saved my unconscious wife from the brink of death. After a series of violent jolts, the cabin pressure miraculously returned to normal. Flight 7500 had survived its first ordeal. To reassure everyone, the captain immediately made an announcement. He explained that we'd hit a storm while passing through air currents, which damaged one of the aircraft's seals and caused the pressure problem. They'd handled the emergency and would be lowering altitude to stabilize pressure, so passengers shouldn't worry too much. Only then did I and the other passengers finally breathe a sigh of relief. I thought the nightmare was over, but that's when strange things started happening to multiple people on board. It started with a middle-aged man who suddenly couldn't breathe. Flight attendant Lisa immediately got on the intercom, asking if any doctors could help. Hearing the announcement, I rushed over right away. But the man's condition was deteriorating rapidly. He kept clawing at his mouth with his fingers, and before we could figure out what he was trying to do, blood suddenly sprayed from his mouth. Then his whole body began convulsing horrifically, like something out of a zombie movie. But he quickly went still. When we laid him on the floor, I realized he'd already stopped breathing. With someone inexplicably dead on board, the captain immediately reported to ground control, asking them to confirm the deceased passenger's information. Since we still had an hour until landing, the crew had to move the body to the business class cabin on the upper deck, covering it with a blanket. But not long after, I spotted a young man sneaking over to the corpse. Turns out, when the crew was moving the body, this guy had noticed the deceased was wearing an incredibly expensive gold watch. He was trying to steal it. After yanking the watch off, instead of leaving immediately, the guy pulled out his phone to take selfies with the corpse. He kept showing off to the camera, even starting to mock the dead man. Then, in the next instant, the corpse turned its head toward him. The body stood up. The young man collapsed to the floor, screaming in terror. Meanwhile, I noticed the flight attendant encountering something bizarre too. A fighter jet had appeared outside the window. In the cockpit, the signal was getting increasingly worse, making it impossible to contact ground control. Even more terrifying, when the flight attendant went back up to check the business class cabin, she found that the corpse had mysteriously vanished, along with the watch thief who'd disappeared without a trace.